If you clicked on this video, you probably have the same issue I have with my 2018 F-150 with the Coyote 5.0. It does the rattle on deceleration problem. It's where the engine is cold and you push the gas, let off the gas, and it makes a brrr sound on the VCT solenoids. Just watch this next clip here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here in the engine compartment of the 5-liter Coyote, you got your VCT solenoid here, and an exhaust solenoid is what I understand. This is the one here that I put my microphone set on and located the noise to be in this area here. Same on the passenger side of the engine. I've seen on websites or on some YouTube channels that they've replaced these solenoids and it fixes it, but I don't know. So to make a long story short, to get right to the point, Ford says that's a normal characteristic of the engine. I don't think so. So here's a little history of my truck at 5,000 miles. I get oil changes at 5,000 miles. So at 5,000 miles, I didn't worry about it. I didn't think I'd have to check the oil level at 5,000 miles. At 7,000 miles, that's when this rattle on deceleration started. So at 10,000 miles, I got my oil change. I had to add 2 quarts of oil to get the oil level up to the low line of the dipstick. That's at 5,000 miles. So I have that oil consumption problem. 15,000 miles, same thing. I had to add oil to the dipstick, to the engine to get it up on the dipstick. Didn't even touch the dipstick. 20,000 miles, it was below the low level line. It did not. I still had oil on dipstick, but it was below the low level line. I asked them to do the oil consumption TSB that they had, but at that time they were replacing engines, and they didn't want to replace my engine. This is not at the selling dealer. This is at another dealer. At 25,000 miles, they finally came out with the oil consumption TSB, which got rid of changing the engine, but they changed the program so the oil would not get sucked into the intake. They changed a vacuum solenoid programming so the oil would not get sucked into the intake and burnt. Let's see. And then at 30,000 miles, my oil level only dropped 1/4 inch. So the program did fix the oil consumption problem, but for all those oil changes, I had no oil on the dipstick or just barely touching the dipstick. So on the 25,000 mile, when they did the oil consumption TSB, what they did was they reprogrammed it and they gave me a longer dipstick. And I'm going to show you a picture of the before dipstick and after dipstick and the measurements. So I'm going to post that right now. So here are the technical service bulletins. This one's the engine rattle noise on deceleration, which was in November of 2018. This did not fix the problem. Here is the excessive oil consumption dated on May of 2019, where they were replacing engines. They did away with this one. This was May of 2019, and then they went to, in December of 19, they decided that they were going to reprogram it and give longer dipsticks. So for 5 separate oil changes at the servicing dealer, I really didn't get any help. They had my truck for 3 days one time and a week for another time, and they could not fix the rattle on deceleration. So this last time at 35,000 miles, I took it to the selling dealer. The selling dealer really wanted to help me. They wanted to replace the engine because the oil level has been so low on the dipstick for all those oil changes, and this rattle is pretty loud. They were ready to change the engine. They waited on the Ford service rep to come through. He came through and said, no, that's a typical characteristic of the engine. So they had my truck a whole month, and then the Ford rep came through and said, no, we're not changing the engine. So if you guys think that's a normal characteristic of an engine, tell me, because I don't think so. If you guys know of any fixes for this, please let me know. Maybe Ford has some new solenoids to put in there to fix that problem. Maybe they can change the programming for the pulse width modulation of the solenoids. Maybe there's some new variable cam actuators that they can put in. I don't know. Just I'd like to know. I thought about trading the truck in, but the trucks are like $15,000 higher now due to the pandemic. I also have a lifetime warranty on the powertrain, but I don't know how those warranties work. I doubt they'll work, but if anybody has had any experience with the lifetime warranties and had to have an engine replaced or something like that that's major, do they actually do it? Will they cover it, or are you going to pay out the butt for it? So just comment below. Let me know. I'm asking you guys for help this time, so let's see if we can get this thing fixed. I like the truck. I want to keep it, but I cannot stand that rattle on deceleration and the shifting and some other things.